Okay, I am now.
Anything else you want to be able to do?
Nope, I'm recording this. I'm recording this. The reason that I'm looking off to my right is that that's where I see everybody. When I'm looking at you here, that's me looking at the camera, and I just see my big old head with all my crazy stuff behind me. So I'm going to be doing this a lot.
Well, it's like TV. You never want to look right in the camera. It scares people anyway. So just look at what you feel comfortable. We'll deal with it.
I will look at my drawings behind me.
Yeah, we want to look at your back. Perfect. Okay.
I'll talk a little bit about me first of all. I work as an illustrator. One thing that a great debate that people, first of all, is anyone here an artist or artsy? Does everybody have a background in art, or is this Suzanne? You do?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, good. Yeah. Well, I work as an illustrator, which means I'm 100% freelance. I draw for basically whoever will hire me. Right now, I draw children's books, and I draw for Mad Magazine, which is a humor magazine in the States, if you don't know.
If you watch the video, you would know exactly what Mad Magazine is, because there are videos on that.
Whole video of it. One thing that I specialize in, that I kind of hang my hat on, is I was always drawn to caricature. I assume everyone knows what that is. Caricature. I'm going to do a little slideshow of my stuff. So as I talk, you'll be able to kind of see what I'm doing. And I'm going to turn off the camera. So I do things like this. I do lots of funny cartoon stuff. This one is actually, this was the original, and this is the COVID-19 version.
Wait, let me see if I can. Okay, are you going to share your screen with us, Ed?
Yeah, I am. You should see it, right?
I don't see it.
See a drawing?
No. I see gallery view.
Okay, I'm still learning how to do this, so I'm going to share screen. Oh, I see. Okay.
Now I can see that you're sharing your screen. Oh, good. And I see Alfred E. Newman wearing a uniform.
So I want to make sure I'm still recording. Okay. I'm using 2 pieces of software now, so this is interesting. But this is the COVID-19 version of that drawing. I thought that was pretty funny. This is a scene of my tabletop with my paints and a computer that I haven't had in over a year. But the things I do are things like this. That's a good drawing of me and the wife, or not a good. Clearly these aren't all going to fit. So I apologize for that.
Was that Mitch McConnell? Denise, that's Mitch McConnell. If you know anything about American politics, that's exactly what Mitch McConnell looks like. Exactly.
For Mad Magazine, this is the kind of stuff I do for Mad. I do funny drawings of people. I don't do much writing. I just do the drawing.
Is that Sarah Huckabee Sanders?
This is a kid in band camp.
Okay.
So what I do is I illustrate articles. If an article is written, I do a drawing that goes along with it. Oftentimes there's caricature involved, where there's actually a person who's like a living person who's the subject. Other times I just have to draw what they want me to draw. This is a little character who's in the children's books I do. His name is Rube Goldberg, and that's him up there, and he creates wacky inventions. And this is just kind of a quick slideshow of stuff that I do.
It's Ivanka's book signing. I love that.
I like that one myself.
Bezos, yeah.
And the reason you see all that white space is because this accompanied an article. So there was lots of text in the upper left-hand corner of that drawing. Jeff Bezos.
It's his lazy eye.
Yeah. And a lot of things I do end up looking like this when they're in print. They're incorporated into layouts and designed by designers. and text is there to drive the gag home. Sometimes things can get reproduced really small. Other times they just end up like this, which is, you know, just fun stuff. It's just, everything I draw is fun.
So Ed, tell me about this drawing right now that you have on your screen. Like, what was the direction? Like, what do they say? Here's what do you, here, draw this. And then, you know, what was the direction for that? What were you supposed to draw?
That last one's kind of a cheat because it's a combination of about 10 different articles. And I took them into Photoshop and I cut and pasted things into some sort of design that I liked. And that's on the top of all my social media headers, which are right there. I'm really happy I did that. So, but I'll show that later. So I've always had a strong interest in caricature. I like drawing people. I was never much good at anything else. And I decided early on, way early on, that that's what I was going to do. I was going to be, I didn't know the term yet, but I was going to be a humorous illustrator. Everything I do is based in humor, and I believe that humor helps you live longer. But I have always just been drawn to things that are funny. I surround myself, I have a whole studio here. I surround myself with things that are generally funny. Even that black and white photo there is just ridiculous. There's absolutely no reason to have that there. It's just funny.
Ed, what are your 4 character strengths? Remember you took that quiz. Everybody, you know the character strengths. What are your top 4? I asked Ed to do it, of course.
Did do the test, and I don't remember.
Well, one of them was humor. I think it was teamwork was one of them.
Yeah,
Humor.
mine were all about things about collaboration. One thing I also do, just like you know, what I do is a job. When I tell that to people, I don't know how it is in Europe, but when I tell people that this is my job, people often try to add a caveat to it, like, well, at least you do what you love. I don't have a bad connection to the word job. My job makes me very happy. I'm very satisfied doing it. It's very fulfilling, and it is a job. And with that, I have to be very good at collaborating with people.
I just found them. Sorry to interrupt you. Number 1 was fairness, which I grew up with you. Don't believe it for a minute. I had 2 brothers. There was no fairness at all in there. Number 2 is leadership. That I can go with. 3, teamwork, and 4 is humor. So I'm just kidding. You're a totally fair person. But I wish you'd been fair when I was younger.
But I like to make a connection between what I do, which looks fun and silly, and it is, but it's still work. I still have to collaborate. I still have to work with people. If I do a
deadlines.
Huh?
You have deadlines.
Deadlines, yeah. If I do a drawing of something that, as silly and ridiculous as it may be, if the client wants me to change something, I have to do that. There's 2 kinds of artists, I think. There's probably more that I can't think of, but there's commercial artists, and then there's what I would call gallery artists. There's probably a better term for it. But I don't get to sit and draw whatever I want to draw and make money on it. I work with people. I work with a team, either a magazine or a publisher or whoever else, and I have to make everybody happy with the drawings. Turns out I'm very good at that, which is what the first 3 of that list comes from. I'm good at collaborating. I'm good at listening, and I'm good at not getting too attached to my drawings.
I think that's a key thing, Ed. You know, the not getting attached. Sorry to interrupt you, but I think that I can illustrate an example of this. One time we were at Mom's house. I was home on vacation. Ed had to work, and he did this huge job for like the Michelin. It was the Michelin Man.
Oh, God.
And he did this amazing drawing. It took him all day to do, and I was like, wow, you know, we're all watching him work because he, you know, that was when he started working digitally, which I think I'll show you later. And And at some point, he's like, oh, I got to talk to the client. He talks to the client, and you could just see him as he was talking, erasing everything, like, take this off, take that. And he was just like, no problem. I would have been crying because, you know, I can't imagine, because I would be too attached to the work. But you're able to distance yourself from what you're doing. What's your secret?
I don't really know. I was given advice a long time ago. I know a lot of, I'm the vice president of the National Cartoonist Society, which is a organization in the States, or it's worldwide now. It goes back to World War II. So I've gotten to meet and gotten to know a lot of my drawing and Illustrator and cartooning heroes. And all the people who were really old, and I'm talking guys who are in their 90s, they all have had the mindset that I've adopted, because they came out of the war where you had to get a job right away. And if you were an artist, you had to work extra hard to make a living at that because times were tough. And one of the, I guess a tenet I was given was that no matter what you're drawing, you work for the client. The client does not work for you. So if they're not happy with something, it's your job to make them happy. It's the same thing if you have a construction team build a patio onto the back of your house, and they put the slats in diagonal and you wanted them perpendicular. You have to say, no, I want it like this, not like this. It is their job to say, I'm on it, I'll fix it right now. And I'm sorry about that. That's what I do. I look at it the same way. I'm a contractor. I get paid by the job. If the client isn't happy, they have every right to just say, sorry, this isn't working, go on to someone else. I'm one of the things I'm very, very good at is being able to collaborate, work with clients, listen to them, and figure out what they want. That doesn't just apply to the art field that I'm in. That's any kind of occupation, I think. If anyone disagrees, I'd love to hear a counterpoint to that. If you're making money and you work for someone, it's your job to make them happy, and that's exactly what I do. Turns out that what I do is fun to do. So, but I still get jobs every now and then that are kind of less exciting than others. I do a lot of advertising work. And I design TV commercials. I'll design, storyboard, and lay out TV commercials, ad campaigns, and some of those can be very dry, but they pay very well. So I'm always happy to get the work. That's the kind of thing I talk about a lot, because I know a lot of artists who have kind of an artist attitude, where this is my style. This is what I do. I've learned that those people fall to the wayside very quickly. So yeah, I don't know really how to elaborate on that, but
so you're saying that to survive in the job that you're doing, you have to really be flexible and just not have too strong a connection to your work, but be able to listen and make changes on the fly, and that otherwise you're not going to survive, right?
you have to put everything that you have into your work, and all this applies to any occupation, I think. If you want to be happy, if you have to enjoy what you do to an extent. You have to at least enjoy most of it. And I even if I'm working on a job that's not all that exciting or fun, I at least find joy in the fact that I'm drawing. I draw for a living. This is what I was born to do. I never really had a choice. I never looked for a choice, although I was in theater for a semester in college. That was fun. Other than that, this is what I do, and I love doing it.
Great. How about if we open up to questions a little bit, see if there's anybody who's got any questions, and then we'll go from there. Anybody have anything they want to ask?
Ed, are you drawing on your computer or like with your hands?
That is a great question, and actually I set up this presentation to do both. I do both. Okay. I'm in the middle. I'll give you. I do have a device here is an enormous drawing tablet where I take a stylus and I draw on it. I'm sure you're familiar with that. I do a lot of layouts on the computer. I'm in the middle of a book right now, and I draw it and design it on the computer, and then when I'm ready to go to final art, I do a wide format printout of whatever I'm doing. I'll show you one. Here's a spread of the children's book I'm on now. So this is all drawn traditionally the old-fashioned way with ink, but I actually designed this on the computer so that all these little parts I can move around and adjust without having to erase, take time. A lot of the things I do for advertising agencies are done entirely on the computer because there's a million drawings that have to be done in a very short amount of time. I prefer to draw on paper. Right behind me here, what you're looking at here that you can't really see is I have a traditional big drawing board here. It's flat, but when I push my screen back, I have a board. And there's things on it, so I don't want to lift it up. But I have a light table here that so I can actually ink and draw the old-fashioned way. But what I oftentimes do, and by the way, I'm sitting in a barber chair. Got a cool barber chair. So I can just swing over here and do my sketches on paper. So to answer that question, I do both. The sketching and drawing almost always starts on paper, just because that's the way I like to do it. But if it's a job that's pressing and I have a very quick deadline, oftentimes I'll just fire up the computer, open up Photoshop, and just start drawing there. I have a whole process I do for that. But if I had my way, I would always just draw on paper. That's a great question. That usually doesn't come till much later in all this.
Good. I think I saw Rigo. Excuse me, Maria, let's get Rigo and then Marino. Okay, thanks.
Okay, I have seen your video about your studio, and it's full of things, of furniture, whatever, and tools and so on. There is no space just for you, not for other people. You talk about a team. How do you work with the team, and who is the team? And the second question is, how do you receive the requirement, I would say, of your customer?
Those are two fantastic questions. I've actually never been asked before. So
really?
Here you go. That's fantastic. First of all, there's a couple answers to the first one. I'll try to keep it, I'll try not to ramble on too long. But if I'm on a job, if I work in advertising, which I do a lot of, if I'm on an ad job, oftentimes, I'll show you. Hang on one second. I have all my drawing stuff in the bag here. And I even have a travel drawing tablet, like one on my desk. And I'll go out and I'll go into the city and I'll set up like in the agency and draw. And oftentimes I'll have art directors and people behind me, and we'll be working in a collaborative environment. So I do a lot of that. I haven't been doing it in a while because I'm in the middle of a book. But yeah, I don't have clients down here. The good thing about the modern age is that everything is done over the phone. I get emails. I'll get a phone call from some client. They'll say, we need you to work. We need you to draw X, Y, and Z. Can you get it to us by the end of the day? And if they don't want me to work on site, and by the way, I live 2 miles from Manhattan, so it's really easy for me to hop. I have a subway a block away. It's really easy for me to just hop on a train and go. And that's no big deal. But oftentimes I'll work off site, so I'll be here. I have a blinking notification on my screen here.
Oh, it's a question that we'll have, it's Denise will ask the question after Marino. So you go ahead, a second question, which was, how do you get either how do you get the jobs or how do they communicate the requirements? I think maybe you could talk about your agent, which might be one too.
Yeah. I get the job. Well, first of all, every job that comes in usually begins with a call. They'll call me, or I'll get an email. If it's a client I've worked for a lot, I'll get a text. Are you available? That's how jobs start, and we'll hop on a call. They'll give me the parameters of what they're looking for, and then I'll get an email. I'll get an email with a script or guidelines. Oftentimes, an art director, who's the person that instructs me what to draw, they'll draw a little sketchy thumbnail drawing of what they want. So a lot of that is done remotely. Lately, I've been doing this for about 25 years, but lately I do less and less on-site work. I'm grateful. But now it's all off-site, but I get the work by that. I also have 2 agents who do some footwork for me. They will, if some client or some agency can call the agent, and the agent calls me, and the agent gets paid when the client pays. The agent tacks their percentage onto my rate. So I have no idea what the agents get paid. I have no idea. So sometimes I invoice the client, sometimes I invoice the agent. Either way, it doesn't matter to me.
Okay.
Oh,
I'm sorry.
I think the last one.
Thank you.
How do I get work?
Oh, I think, you know what? I think, does that answer it, Rigo? Is that okay?
It's okay. Thank you.
Cool. All right. So next question I've got Marino, then Denise, then Enrico.
Hi, Marino.
Yes, your profession seems quite a male-only profession. Why do you think there are so few women?
I would counter that and say I know a lot of women who do what I do. I can't say for sure, but I don't know. I do know a lot of women who are artists who make a living at it. A lot of women cartoonists. There's a lot of, I guess the percentage is higher. There's more men than women illustrators, but it's not like the 60s. Anyone who wants to do it can get into it. I don't know.
It's changing then.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I know tons of very, very successful women illustrators. I know tons of very not successful women artists, and I know the same for male and female.
Great. Okay, Denise. Denise
Okay.
has a question for you.
Am I on?
Yeah.
Okay. I used to love Mad Magazine as a kid. We were only allowed to get
that.
We only were allowed to get it on summer vacation. So I got Mad Magazine, and my sister would always get Archie or Scooby-Doo. And I love that one, the centerfold that you fold up inside. Anyway, I wondered what was your most controversial drawing for Mad, and if you ever got in trouble for anything you've done for them.
That's a great question. First of all, I am going to lead this off by saying the guy who does the Mad fold-ins, his name is Al Jaffe. He's one of the old timers I was talking about. That's the artist that gave me that advice that you work for the client, they don't work for you. This is Franklin, by the way.
There's your team, Rigo, that you're looking for. Where's the team? It's the cats.
Here's my collaborative, my idea person. Hi, Frank. Stuff I do for Mad and everybody else, I'm not one of the more controversial artists. I can tell you a lot of Mad Magazine stories because I know all the old contributors and I know the editors. I'm in with that group. There's a lot of stories about lawsuits, things like this. but has anyone ever heard of the Comics Code Authority?
There's the Comics Code in the first video that I put on your lesson. They actually talk about the Comics Code when they had to kind of censor comics. So if what he's talking about now is also in your lesson in a light way, right? I think it's Jaffe that's talking about it actually, Ed, in the.
I'll give you a little bit of background. The Comics Code Authority is a self-censoring. I think it's an entity of some sort, where to avoid regulation and actual laws written about what can be published and what can be shown in comic books at the time, all the comic book publishers got together and created the Comics Code Authority. Well, that's originated from the man who started up Mad Magazine. His name is Bill Gaines. Bill Gaines headed up EC Comics. I'll try to keep this short. He headed up EC Comics. EC Comics had horror comic books. They had war stories. They had sci-fi stories. Back when comic books were huge in the 50s and 60s, every kid read comic books. And there was a backlash against comic books because a professor named Frederick Wortham wrote a book called Seduction of the Innocent. And what this book did was it said that comic books were the cause of juvenile delinquency. It's a very 50s thing. And that was his theory. Turns out that, yes, juvenile delinquents read comic books, the scary ones, the war ones, but also everybody read comic books. Mm-hmm. So this book is now kind of a joke in the industry, but it changed everything. And so all of the horror all of the horror comic books, all of the war stories, all the sci-fi, a lot of those just kind of went to the wayside because they didn't want to be censored. But the one comic book that Bill Gaines did continue on was what he had started up 3 years earlier, which was Mad Magazine. It wasn't called Mad Magazine at the time, it was a comic book. And so he got rid of all the other Tales from the Crypt, Vault of Horror, all these very violent comic books, and just kept Mad Magazine. And it was just the right time, just the right place for Mad to really take a hold. And Mad started doing parodies. They started doing parodies of TV shows. Originally, they were doing parodies of other comic books. And after a while, it became known because they got the best artists in the world to do it. Back when they used to hire really good artists.
Right, those days are over, right?
Right. They would do parodies, and every now and then, some celebrity would see their caricature in Mad and call a lawyer. And it was because of that, another lawsuit started, and it went to the Supreme Court, where I don't know what the name of the case was, and I don't know a lot of the specifics, but in the end of that case, the United States government declared that parody and satire is a form of free speach. And
free speech, which is protected by the First Amendment, right?
Yes, but up until Mad Magazine, that was not the case. And because it was seen as libel or slander, whichever one is visual and not oral.
And then eventually it became that getting your caricature drawn in Mad meant that you had reached a certain level of success, so it completely changed, right, Ed?
Yeah. I'm going to tell one quick anecdote here quick, and then I have another one after that I'll save for later.
Okay, and then I've got Enrico and Chiara also have questions for you. Tell your story, and then just so you know, Chiara Pitaco.
I do have a fun one. When I think Empire Strikes Back or Return of the Jedi came out, Mad, of course, did a parody of it, by the great Mort Drucker, who died about 2 weeks ago. And Mad Magazine got a letter from from George Lucas's lawyers, saying that they were suing him for defamation because of, they didn't like, you can't do this. And about 2 days earlier, the same editors at Mad had gotten a letter from Steven Spielberg praising them for the art and the great parody and how blah, 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 how great it was, and asking if he could buy the original art and all that. So that was a case of some person, in this case, Spielberg's legal team, just assuming, you know. So they all got fired. And so, yeah, but to go back to the question, I can't think of anything I've done that was for the public that has really caused a stir. I've gotten a lot of comments on my political stuff, and I'm not political. I don't do political cartoons. I do very few political drawings. I showed a few in that slideshow, and I got a couple comments for those from people who like those people, but that doesn't matter to me. I don't care. But nothing that's gone viral. I'm too nice.
Thank you.
All right, Ed, we've got another question for you from Enrico. Then we've got Chiara Pitacco and then Gianluca.
Enrico.
Okay.
Hi. Do you work in a specific niche?
One more time.
Do you work in a specific niche?
We would say like a niche. Do you have a niche?
Yeah, humor.
Yeah, it's a French word. It should be niche, but in every language they have their own way of saying it. So Enrico's, your English is perfect, just that's a crazy word. Okay. Do you have a specific niche, or what do we call a niche?
Niche, yeah. Humor, funny, caricature. Yeah, that's it. I think, does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay, great. Chiara Pitacco.
Chiaro.
Yeah, you know, it's Chiara. We got a brother and a sister, just like you and me, Ed.
Yeah. What's your favorite thing or topic to draw?
Funny pictures of people. I like to draw caricatures. Anything around here? Yeah, I like to draw people. I like to draw funny drawings of people. I have a sketchbook here that almost every morning when I come down, I'm downstairs. When I come down here, I just grab a pencil, whatever I feel like, and I'll just kind of draw, and it'll end up being a celebrity I find online or something. That drawing there is on loan. A good friend of mine drew that. I'm not a fan of anybody in the picture, but he's a master painter and a master drawer, so he lent it to me, so I can sit and kind of study, you know, the lines and all that. So yeah, caricature. Is that a universal word? Does everybody know what that is?
Yeah, caricature. I think it'd be caricatura, right? And it's the same word. Gianluca, you have a question.
Yeah. So it's a question, is a thought also. I've never been able to draw something in my life, never.
I don't blame
so
you.
This is so
blessings.
Just to justify myself, I think that drawing is a tendency you have from the childhood, like happen for people talking about music. They are perfect pitch, they say. Is sort of understand music from the childhood in an incredible way. So I ask you, is correct? I have any chance to to learn painting, or I don't think so anyway.
Well, I've had long conversations about this. People love to give excuses for why they don't do things, and by using the word talent. I'm not a big believer in the word talent. I believe that people are born with an interest or a proclivity to something. But that if you have an interest in something, you're going to pursue it and you're going to get better at it. Sure. The older I get, the more people I meet who I think might have a God-given talent. I might be changing this, but if you have an interest and you keep up with it, okay, there's absolutely no reason why you can't, you know, draw. To that end, what you don't want to do is figure out how to draw like someone else. You have to learn, you know, the basics, the fundamentals, and develop your own thing, whatever that is.
Sure.
25 years ago, if you'd have told me I'd be doing children's books and advertising, I would have, that sounded completely foreign. I was always good at kind of going where the wind blows with my work, but I don't think people are born with, this is a very controversial topic.
Okay.
I think you're born with an interest, and or maybe you develop that interest later, and then you can hone it. But there's absolutely no, in my belief, and I know a lot of artists, there's nothing that keeps you from doing it. All it is a matter of persistence, doing it, drawing every day.
Yeah, Ed, let me add to that. I just, because Gianluca, you know, I asked Ed the same thing a few weeks ago, and I said, you know, I want to get better at drawing. What can I do? And of course, he's my brother, so he's going to be different with me than he is with you. And his thing was,
I told her to mail me $20.
Huh?
I told her to mail me $20.
Yeah, right. No, he said, go get yourself a sketchbook and you fill it up. Just draw every day and fill that thing up. When it's full, call me and we'll talk. So I think that he's right. It's about creating a habit. And I think the other thing that, you know, if you watch like a tutorial, like they've got a million tutorials on YouTube, and I think they are useful because I think what they sometimes do is they kind of, some things that are obvious to someone who's been drawing all their lives, you know, like Ed sees things that you and I don't. Like he can see things in a simplified way. Like he can simplify something into shapes that we just see all these like details, and he might break it down into, okay, that's a couple circles, there's a triangle there, there's, you know. So if he were to actually explain to you how to draw something, maybe he could even do that quick now, like a simple, how you see, in fact, Ed, why don't you do that? Can you show us how you draw like a face? Like when you
I'm gonna
draw
do
a
that.
face,
I have to go move a cat off my paints. Give me 1 second. He's right over there.
Okay. And then, so Gianluca, you'll get your art lesson in a
I can hear
second.
you.
Then the next questions are from Suzanne and then another one from Marino. Okay, so Gianluca, you're not finished yet. You'll see. There's hope for you. Get your sketchbook out.
Okay.
I hope the rest of you have your sketchbooks out this week. Remember, it doesn't have to be good drawing, it has to be drawing. Okay.
Okay, so I'm going to, is it better to sketchbook or computer? What do you think?
Well, show us how the computer works. Maybe Suzanne can ask her question while you're setting it up. Or whatever's easier for you, Ed, doesn't matter.
I'll do this, because I think this is cooler.
Okay.
So
Suzanne, do you have a question?
Yeah, I'd like to know, how did you get your first jobs? Because I think that this is one of the most difficult things when you just end your college or your studies in general. So I'm curious about it.
I'll tell you exactly how I got my first job. Actually, I'm gonna go back to the big camera. The reason I got any job has to do, people don't usually want to hear this, but I can trace back every major job I've gotten back to people I've met. Back in the old days, in the 90s, we used to have to send out postcards and do promotions and do all that. But I'm a member of a couple different organizations, and you meet the right people. It's not, you know, I also live in the city, but networking, you get work that way. I think the very first job I got, the very first advertising job I got, and advertising pays the most. Let's just get that out of the way. Those are the ones that really pay. Mad doesn't pay well. I was a few days after I had a website built, and I put artwork on there, and the right people saw it, and those right people was my agent, who I still have. It's a lot of looking for work is just kind of getting your name out there. And
being nice to people.
Nice to people, yeah, that helps. I got to learn how to do that. But, yeah, it's, you know, traditionally, if you read books on how to get work, they're going to tell you that you need to do postcards, you need to do your Instagram, you do all that stuff. I find that going to Comic-Cons, conventions, art conventions. That has gotten me the most work. And I don't think there's a lot of artists that would disagree with that. It's meeting the right people on a personal level, even if it is only on the internet. If two different people do the exact same work and one of them is present and available and the other person's not, the first person's going to get the work. I know how obtuse that sounds. And it also sounds very discouraging. But putting things on Instagram, my day was before Instagram, but putting things on Instagram and doing the right hashtags works wonders. I've actually gotten a lot of work on LinkedIn. I mean, you know that site? Making yourself available, telling people what you do, and getting your work in front of the right people. That's rule number one. But I've also found that having some sort of interaction with people has been weight in gold.
Okay,
Thank you.
We've got 3 questions. Eddie, people are full of questions. They're so curious about you. Marino's got another question. Marino, Chiara, and then Paola. Marino.
Yes, just a little question. Have any celebrities asked you a caricature?
Yeah. Let me think. That's a really good question. I've had people approach me to buy stuff I've done. I've never been celebrities. I think my term of celebrity, like I do a lot of work. I do a lot of trades with artists, but I don't think they're really celebrities. I've had people contact me wanting to get the drawing. Yeah, that's not too uncommon. If it's the right price, I'll sell it. Sometimes I'll give a print. What I did do once is I drew the cast of a TV show for something, and someone on the show contacted me wanting it, and I said, look, I'll tell you what, I'll give you a copy of this, a nice high quality print, because that one was it happened to be all digital, but I'm going to send you 2 and a couple stamps. So you keep one and I'll sign it and all that, and then you have the cast sign it and you mail me back one. That was the trade.
Did they do it?
Worked out pretty good. Turns out that this particular guy had gotten killed off on the show, but that episode hadn't aired yet, so he couldn't get everybody's autograph because he was off the show. That actually happened.
Okay. Next question, Chiara.
Yeah.
Chiara, not Pitaco. Chiara M.
Marino, yeah. I'm not good in drawing too.
Count your blessings.
Well, sorry?
I'm only kidding.
He's saying you're lucky.
No, it's not true. And I am blocked because in my mind, I don't have a clear image of what I would like to draw. So my question is, when you have to draw something, do you have a clear image in your mind about what to do, or it's more a process? You try something, then you understand then it's not so good, so you try something else, etc.
That's a great question. I oftentimes have about 80% of it in my head, and then as I'm drawing, things evolve. But that's completely up to you. There's no rules for that. It's what you want to draw. But if you are just drawing and you want to draw something that's recognizable, you should have a snapshot of it in your head.
A snapshot is a photo, by the way. It's an old-fashioned word.
Yeah.
While you're just referring to that same question, Chiara, I think it's interesting too. Sometimes people think that artists have to have everything in their mind, but you'll notice that what Eddie's doing now is he has photos in front of him that he's referring to, and he's, same person, but 3 different. So he's also using visual references.
Can you see those photos?
Yeah, we can see the 3 photos and we can see your drawing.
Yeah.
And while you're doing that, Paula has a question for you.
Paula.
Yes, I've seen the video about you called uplifting soldiers. It was rather strange to me, and I wanted to know if it's something like an organization. I don't think it was your own idea. You said I want to go. It's a common practice for different artists, for example, musicians, actors, and all of them. And if it's organized, it's you feel free. You feel like a bit embedded, and you must go and support the, yes.
I'm not sure I understood the question.
Yeah, I can help you, Ed, because this was the video that we put on about your trip with the USO. It was called Uplifting Soldiers. And I don't think that maybe people here know what the USO is, but I can sort of tell you guys in a general way that if you've ever seen the movies with Marilyn Monroe where she's singing to the soldiers, that was organized by the USO, which is the entertainment branch of the US government, of the US Army. But Eddie, you can explain how you got involved.
The USO began in the 1940s during World War II, and it's a morale raising organization. It's not actually a part of the military. It is privately funded by donations, and the goal is to raise morale of people in the military. And as it turns out, the National Cartoonist Society, of which I'm the vice president of, grew out of the USO, because back in the old days, cartoonists took it upon themselves to go overseas and just do what they used to call chalk talks. They would just do drawing demos for troops and just kind of give them something else to do. The USO has been working with the National Cartoonist Society almost entirely since the 40s, and it's morale raising. We just go and give soldiers a little taste of home. I'll draw pictures of them. I'll draw photos of their kids back home. Yeah, was there more to that question?
I think she's asking if anybody can go, or do you get chosen? And you go with other cartoonists, right, who are famous too, who do comic strips that Americans recognize, Disney characters. So someone from Disney usually goes. So
the USO gets they get pop stars and singers to go, and they also get the cartoonists. People who get to go, the USO has to approve who goes, because they want people who are doing this to actually bring people in. So if they have an event in Afghanistan under a big hot tent, they want to make sure that the soldiers who are on that base are going to want to go see these people. So everybody who goes kind of has I guess a calling card of some sort. Mine is always the Mad Magazine angle. We have people that do comic strips in the newspapers. We have Disney animators. Yeah.
Ed, why don't you talk us through your drawing right there?
What's that?
So we're going back to Gianluca now. Why don't you talk him through what you're doing and what you're thinking when you're drawing?
I'm drawing. I got these photos of this funny looking guy here, and I am just kind of blocking out where I think my drawing is going to go. And you saw that these really rough lines I was doing. That's what I had in my head. And what I'm doing now is I'm refining that, and I'm altering my sketch as I go. You see I'm making changes here, and I'm just trying to get a feel for what this dude would look like in a funny drawing. And I'm just kind of refining it, and I'm spitballing it is a good way to put it, I think. One thing that I have learned, if you want to practice drawings, you have to learn a lot of things. You have to learn how to, like, if you want to do this, you have to learn how to draw a face. You have to know how the face works. What is a nose made of? You know,
it's a nightmare. It's the hardest thing in the world.
Disagree.
And yet it's your favorite thing.
I love it. Again, my drawings don't tend to be very mean. There's a lot of people that think that caricatures have to be mean. You're making fun of the person. I'm not like that at all. My caricatures tend to celebrate the subject rather than tear them down. That's just how I'm wired. So I'm just gonna, I'm drawing at an angle here, so it's hard to do this, but I'm using a pencil. If anyone wants to know why I use a pencil, it's because I want to use my electric eraser.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. How cool is that?
Very cool.
Or I could just use a regular eraser, but the electric eraser is more fun. So I can talk while I do this. Are there any?
Yeah, does anybody have any questions? Let's see. I'm surprised that Federica Climi doesn't have any questions yet.
Federica.
Hi, Ed.
Hi.
So I tell you that 15 years ago, I did a dress designer course, and so it was so interesting for me.
Okay.
I remember a lot of sleepless night because I had to do my exercise for the school.
Right.
So my question, forgive my curiosity, it is a personal. Okay, so how much time your job takes? So I think your job hasn't got a timetable. So, and how is it compatible with your private life? So have you got enough time for your family, for your hobbies, sport, interests, for social life?
I do, because I always find time. I start working early. I'm not a morning person, but in the last year, I've taught myself to get up early, come downstairs and start, because the emails don't start coming in until 11 or 12. So that gives me time to warm up, to have some quiet time, and the phone isn't ringing. I am always, most days, like 99 days out of 100, I'm done at 6 or 7 at night. Then I go upstairs and I watch TV or something. I don't have any kids, so that helps a lot. Yeah, like I said before, it's a job, but I don't have any negative feelings toward it. So it's never a problem to be here. I have a TV on the other side of the studio here if I want to watch TV. The kitchen's upstairs. Finding time has never been a problem, but every now and then I will get a job that makes me have to draw overnight, which you know. I don't like to do those, but that's very rare. That just doesn't happen much. So,
with Heather, you know, he's married to a really wonderful person named Heather. So, but she works a lot too. So you guys find a way to see. She's working at home now too, isn't she? Because of the quarantine thing, right?
And by the way, I've been working at, this quarantine hasn't affected me. I've been working at home for years. It's
the same.
The advertising jobs I talked about before, I'd be down here anyway.
Mm-hmm. Ed Marino has another question for you. Marino.
Yes. Have you never drawn for an animated cartoon?
Any what?
If not,
no.
Have you worked in animation?
Nope. Nope. I never had an interest in that. I have a lot of friends who are in animation, and I've learned that if you want to work in animation, you have to eat, sleep, and breathe animation. And I'm not that guy. I don't have a passion for it. So
what about The Secret of Nim, Ed?
No, I never had a passion for it. It's just not. That's not part of any kind of goal of mine. I had a job in high school working at an animation studio, and I hated it. Lots of repetitive drawing. No.
Why did you erase your eyebrows?
I didn't like them. They're not even.
But I think that your character will do very well.
What's that?
I think that your character characters will do very well in an animated cartoon.
Yeah, I think I know what you're talking about. Where's my book? Wait, hang on. I just had my book down.
I think too, Muddy, you know what he's saying is like character design is one thing, you'd be good at that, but maybe doing the animation itself is really repetitive and and so I think that's what you don't like, right? Ed, is you like variety, you like to move on to the next thing.
No, I forgot about that. I have done character designs. So I design the character and then that's handed off to a bunch of animators who make it work and move. That I've done. I've never pursued it, but I've gotten calls and I've done it. I'm not going to turn down a lot of work. So yeah, but I've never. It was never a passion of mine.
Mm-hmm. Hey Ed, when you scribble on the side, are you sharpening the pencil?
Yeah, my pencil here. Let me see. This is all backwards. I use a really. Today I'm using a really thick pencil lead.
Yeah.
Just because it's harder to see on the screen. Normally I just, I'll use a regular mechanical pencil. Or actually, more often than not, I use just a regular dumb old pencil. But this one's really thick and dark, and I thought it'd be easier to see. So I'm gonna, for the eyeballs, I really have to slow down.
Yeah, explain the eyeballs, because you're doing them last, whereas I think most people, myself included, we always want to do it first because it's the most interesting part of the face.
Yeah.
Why do you do them last?
It's just a habit. There's no reason for it. Just the way I do it. The eyeballs are kind of like they're kind of like the punchline to the joke. So if you're doing a drawing, you can kind of get a feel for the whole thing, but when you've got the eyeballs in there, then your focus goes right there. And when I'm doing a drawing, I'm looking at the whole thing. And when you get those eyeballs in, everything goes there, and then all this is kind of secondary.
Can you talk about the proportions of the face, Ed?
Well,
where's the middle? Where's the top?
That's a long conversation because if you're doing a portrait, you're going to have a general, generic face. And again, I'm drawing at an angle. So you're drawing, a traditional portrait. You're going to have something like this. Ears are here. You're going to have a through line. And right around the middle is where the eyes are going to go. And actually, I'm just catching my light funny, sorry. If I just turn this off, that might work.
Yeah, it's better without it.
Well, I don't have this perception that the eyes is in the middle.
Yeah, this is an average. Everybody's face varies from this, but the eyes are generally here. If you have a center point here, the eyes are going to fall right between this and this, so they're going to be in the middle. And between this and this, right in the middle of that is the nose. Between this and this is where the mouth is going to be. Furthermore, your cheekbones are going to wrap around the eyes, go up to the brow, come in, and then this cheekbone line goes and forms the inside of the upper ear. So there's a lot of rules like this that you can learn, because these don't really deviate too much. But then again, does this look like anybody you know? No. But if you took a photo, say, look at this, the photo here, it's on the or on the top of your screen. That guy with the blue eyes is looking at you. Generally, his eyes are basically in the middle of that egg shape, his egg-shaped head, and the eyes are basically in the middle of that. And the nose, again, is about halfway between this and this. So that's generally how you learn how to construct a face. That's the fundamentals. And your job as an artist is to know how to manipulate that. Like I'm going to make his eyes a lot closer together. I'll do a drawing based on that drawing there. So his eyes, I'm going to place them closer together, and they're big. I'm just going to do a rough here. And they're big and they're sunken in. And I'm just going to do a real rough. knowing what I know, knowing that this is the average, I want to know how he deviates from the average. It's kind of a crooked mouth. And again, this is just, I'm just really quick. I'm getting sketchy. I don't want to, I'm not focusing on each individual line. I'm focusing on how the lines interact to each other. That's a fancy way of saying I'm just sketching. And I'm not looking here, I'm looking here. So I'm always looking around.
It seems so simple.
Well,
yeah, that's the magic, right? When you see, it's mesmerizing watching him do it, right?
but if I do this, the forehead comes out of here, these cheekbones. There's a lot of rules to the face that are constant. You know, like that thing I said about the ears. Look at the photo, and you can see this. You see this cheekbone line? I'm going to exaggerate it here. This arrow I'm drawing right now. Find that on his face, on that reference there, and you'll see that this line lines up with the inside of his upper ear. See that? Now that's not as important as a lot of other rules, but it's a really easy one to point out. So that's how I know where to place his ears. There's a million rules like that that simply don't deviate. They're always there. They don't change. So that's a good way of making it look like you know what you're doing.
And Denise has a question, and Suzanne has a question. Denise, go ahead.
Yeah, I can hear you.
I wondered what amusement park you started working at, because I saw that in your video.
I started working at a small amusement park in Minneapolis, Minnesota. And from there, I went to Chicago for 2 summers. For those who don't know, I got my start drawing live caricatures at theme parks around the country. And
Theme parks would be like, what do you call a theme park, Denise? What is this called again? Like Gardaland. Look at Gardaland.
Well, mine was Kings Island in Cincinnati.
Oh, that Ohio?
Yes.
Yeah, I know it well.
There were a lot of art students who were doing them in the evenings there.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I did that for years, and then eventually I opened up my own operations. I left that line of work in 2006 when I moved to New York, and I got a lot out of it. Yeah.
You were at Six Flags, right, Ed? Was that the one in Minneapolis too, or what was that one called?
The one in Minneapolis was owned by the people that own Cedar Fair. It isn't a Six Flags; it's a different brand, a different company.
Okay.
Yes, Chicago, Minneapolis, St. Louis, and a little park up in New England, Massachusetts. Yeah, that's where I cut my teeth and learned a lot of this. Unfortunately, live caricature doesn't really translate to print caricature as much as I would have hoped.
Mm-hmm.
But at least it got me started.
Yeah. Suzanne.
Yeah, I think that caricatures in some way reflect also the character of the person that are drawn. So I'd like to know how much important is know the character of the person you want to draw a character about.
That's probably the best question I've ever gotten.
Oh, thank you.
First of all, I'm gonna change my camera view so I can look at you again. Give me 1 second. It takes me a second to do this. I've learned that if you want to draw a proper caricature of someone, you have to be familiar with the person. Mm-hmm. That said, it can be really hard to draw people you really know. I don't know why that is, but you're not just drawing what's on the exterior. Like, you couldn't do a proper caricature of someone based on one photo, one flat 2D photo. What you have to do is get a couple different images so you can get a view for the person in 3D, for starters. I've drawn caricatures for MAD of people I don't know, And those are the ones that come back and they say, it looks like them, but it doesn't feel like them. And one thing I've been good at is drawing beyond the surface more than most, I think, and kind of getting a feel for the whole person. What's their personality? Is it a warm person? Are they mean and ugly on the inside? That kind of stuff shows through in a good caricature. So this particular guy, I don't really know him. He has a great face, so it kind of goes against what I'm saying. If I have to draw someone I'm really familiar with, the drawing will just ultimately be better. Not to say that you can't do a good caricature of someone you've never met. I get, every year I do a couple family people commission me to draw their Christmas cards of their kids. And I ask for 1 million photos. And you know, once they're done, I never want to see them again anyway. Pretty much everything I draw, I just get rid of it. I don't want to look at it anyway. But the more familiar you are with the subject, and that doesn't go for caricature, that goes for portraiture. A friend of mine has been doing covers for Time magazine, and one thing I'll never say, and I won't say his name here. Oh, I shouldn't even bring it up. But
oh, come on! We won't tell anybody. We're family.
If you're not familiar with your subject, and you're just relying on photo reference, and someone who is familiar with that subject will look at it and go, yeah, it looks like him or her, but it doesn't feel like him. And I could never find a way to really articulate that. If you know a person inside and out, your drawing will be better. That's all there is to it. Go ahead.
I want to say that if you're, just with that in mind, like you started out doing live caricature where you'd have like 30 people waiting in line to get drawn by you.
Sometimes more.
Were you able to like get a feel for them just by talking to them, or how did you get over that barrier of like not knowing them?
Interacting. Even talking to someone. You can look at a photo of someone and get a complete, get an idea in your head of what they look like. But until you sit and interact with someone, you really don't know what they're about. Some people do this a lot, but if you're looking at a photo of them, you wouldn't get that. Some people they hunch. Other people won't make eye contact with you. You have to get to know. You have to know what's going. At least something of what's going on with that person. Picking up on visual cues, body language says wonders. If I draw anybody especially for MAD, because it's it's high profile, I will watch video of the subject. If I don't know, if I'm not familiar with the person I'm drawing, I'll look them up on YouTube and I'll watch them. If it's a TV show or something I have to draw from, I'll watch an episode or two, hopefully more, of the show. Pay attention to that character. What you really want to get is their individual traits, I guess. Some people talk with their hands a lot. Some people don't. That kind of stuff is really important, and it's the kind of thing that you can't get just from looking at a static photo. It's a really good question. I gotta write that one down. Next time someone asks me that, I'm gonna have a better answer.
We're recording this, so you'll remember that question.
Right.
Other questions? Ed, maybe you have some questions for them, I don't know. Or maybe you want to show us your digital stuff, or how you do it.
Sure, why not? Who asked about the digital thing? Is he gone?
Piero Pitaco, I think.
Yeah, all right. I'm gonna switch to this fancy device. This cord is hooked to my phone, which you were just watching. So, gotta put on my cool dude, old guy readers. And I just went to use the wrong pencil on my screen. That would be bad. So, all
Looks
right.
like Denise has to go, so she's saying goodbye. It looks like she's saying thank you.
Bye, Denise.
Bye, Denise.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thanks, Denise. Ed, the big tablet you're using, can normal people buy a tablet like that, or is that something that you have to order special?
No,
Like, I've never seen anything like that, for example. You always have weird stuff that I've never seen.
Yeah, it's very expensive.
That's why I've never seen it, probably.
Yeah. This is kind of like a glorified iPad.
Okay.
An iPad is made for, basically, what we would say is an iPad is made for consumers. So anybody can just go to the store and get one. This thing is I don't want to say it's non-consumer, but it's high-end.
It's okay, so it's more for professionals.
Right. You can see that? Okay. I'm going to do, I guess I'll just draw that guy there just because I got it. Actually, you know what? I'm going to look at my Zoom screen here, and I'll start drawing someone I can see on my screen. And we can see if we can guess who it is. So you saw that rough sketch I did before with the pencil? I'm going to do the same thing here, where I'm going to do a rough outline.
Who's it going to be?
Is it easier for you to draw on your screen or on paper?
I like to draw on paper, but the screens work so good now that there's very little learning curve. I mean, what I'm drawing now, what you can't see is that this thing, I mean, I don't have to wait for a line to build. It's very responsive. It's pressure sensitive, you know, so the harder I push, the thicker of a line I can get.
So it's pressure sensitive?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
That'd be a deal breaker.
Oh, that's so Marino right there, isn't it?
I have a question.
Gianluca, go.
Yeah. When you finish your a job, a picture, that is the original, and is one original, or you can do a copy, or what's happened?
If I finish a job and it's not on the computer, I can scan it.
Okay.
But if it's a real piece of art, like that piece of paper I showed you, this thing here, I'll mail that off. They will scan it or photograph it, and then they'll send it back to me, because I own the rights to everything. I don't always own usage rights, but I own the rights to it, to the image itself.
And that is a particular situation, right, Ed? Because that book, the person who chose Ed to do the work wanted it to be not digital. They want it to be hand painted, right? Yes. They had so with that particular book, it has to be, everything has to be done by hand. He sends it by mail. They send it back. He might design like the layout on the computer, but it's always going to be drawn by hand when it's for that particular client.
The book, yeah.
We have it in our library. We have the first book in our library. Yeah, we do. Mm-hmm. We can't go there and get it anymore, but
we'll have
we're closed. But
in about a year.
Yeah, the new one.
Oops.
Can I ask one more question?
Absolutely.
Yes, there you go.
Have you ever done your own caricature?
Oh, sure.
Sure? Can you show it?
I'm really easy to draw.
Really?
Yeah. I've been drawn hundreds and hundreds of times. I have a lot of friends who do this. I'm having trouble with my my tablet now because it doesn't like that I'm, there we go. Yeah, I've drawn myself, never because I want to, but because I have to for some, if I'm being interviewed or something like that, they always want a funny drawing of me. And I'm not going to use someone else's drawing of me, so yeah, I have. It's always humbling when you draw yourself.
Yeah, I can share one later on our WhatsApp group. Unless Eddie finds one earlier. So talk us through it, Ed. What are you doing?
I have no idea. Think about this. A lot of it is just
a question. May I?
Yeah.
Yes. We are seeing how digital world have changed your job, but on the side of the client, for example, are there magazine only digital magazine?
No.
There are some illustrators that work for internet and not for magazine, paper magazine.
No. I've done a lot of drawings that I never actually see how they're used, but how I do them, the only advantage to working digital is that I can mail it off quicker. I can take this and I can just email it and it's there. Other than that, and I do a lot less all-nighters, drawing all night now. But there's no technical advantage to drawing digitally. In fact,
What about for making changes though?
Yeah, I can make changes. Like if I don't like this, I can just, erase everything and it's done, There's no real advantage. Like young art students they're not at a disadvantage if they're not using a computer. It's just, it's another tool. You have to learn how to draw no matter what. And the computer doesn't draw for you. Did that answer that question? Probably not.
Furio, wake up. You have a question? Furio's on double duty. Furio is watching his kids. He's making pizza.
Yeah. No, I just watched because I didn't watch the video before, so
that's
I like
okay.
to understand what it's amazing job. I like.
It's kind of fun to watch, isn't it? Yeah, it's fun to watch.
I watch and I learn. It's really important for me. Sorry.
No, in fact, like everybody else knows that when I send you the lessons and you do them at your own pace. If you want to watch the videos after, when you know who the person is, sometimes it's more interesting. So don't worry about that.
So, but this week was the reopening in Italy, and I was really busy.
Yeah, I bet you were. Are you back on the boat then? Were you, Furio?
Yeah, sure.
Are you guys opening up over there?
Huh?
Are you opening up over there?
Yeah, opening up a little bit. You're allowed out of your house, and people work on boats are allowed to work on their boats. And Furio is our super sailing world champion guy, so he's back on his boat again. As of last week?
No, yes, but Monday was the first day very busy. Last week we did some preparation to finish to restart Monday. So
cool.
But
glad to hear it.
Amazing. I like these drawings, so it's amazing.
Yeah, it's fun to watch it happen, right? Ed,
he touched the screen with the pen to design it, or it's like a Bluetooth pen or something like that.
Yeah, explain how your pen works.
Just a pen.
You touch the screen with the pen?
Yeah, I'm actually.
It's like a paper for you.
Yes.
Yeah, kind of. So I'm just drawing on this, like I normally would. There's a bit of a delay in the video, but yeah,
a little bit.
Once you get used to it, it really works great. These devices have been around for about 20 years or so. I could finally afford one about 15 years ago, and they keep getting better and better. So yeah, I do a lot of work on this thing here. Plus, it's on this swingy arm thing. So if I'm not using it, I literally just push it back, and then I have all of my drawing board here to do whatever else I'm working on. Right now, I'm actually I'm inking a children's book. So when this is done, I'm going to have a sheet like this, and I'll be, working on it with traditional.
How you can print these drawings?
Yeah.
You can print it. You have a special printer, or?
I have a wide format printer, but it's not special.
Oh.
Ed, do you sometimes do demos for the company that makes the tablet there?
Yep. I certainly do. They love me. Because I can draw live. I can do
Yeah,
this.
so they send you places. So that's probably a good deal, right? Do they give you the new stuff? Do you get any freebies?
Yep.
Oh, well done.
So not every time,
Uh-huh.
but they'll have me try out equipment.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Not about your job, but about your country, if I can.
Go right ahead.
Absolutely.
What about political satire? Satire? You say satire?
Yeah,
Talking
political
about
satire.
talking about drawing on the newspaper, about the government, about so. If you can
Political
say.
cartoons.
Yeah, political cartoon. Yeah.
Up
Is
until
a good period for the people drawing against the government or for the government?
first
Or,
time since probably the Civil War, it's actually a bad time to be a political cartoonist. Newspapers in the States, I don't know how it is everywhere else, but newspapers in the States hire people to draw political cartoons. Traditionally, they didn't have a slant, or the newspaper wouldn't, but the artist would, because
Slant just means a leaning one way or the other, right? When we say slant, they're saying you're either left or right. Okay.
Since in the last couple of years, people are now losing their jobs. It's a bad time to be a political cartoonist.
Yeah, this is the first time I've ever heard about cartoonists losing their jobs because they did a political cartoon. That was never a thing. I think it was in Ohio even.
It was a thing back during the Civil War.
Right, in the 1800s maybe, but.
Right, but
I have a question.
I do
Julio.
know people
Yeah.
in that boat.
You don't have in the United States the newspaper or the paper like Charlie Hebdo in France.
The Charlie Hebdo, yeah,
Charlie-
Mad Magazine. Mad
It's a magazine
or Charlie Hebdo.
as against the politicians, as satire. I would call satire. Satire.
Satire.
Yeah, I have my own opinions on that. I don't know if I want to. Charlie Hebdo, as horrible as that was, I don't know.
The humor is unbelievable humor. I understand that this humor.
Yeah, I think Charlie Hebdo too was also like really pushing things. I don't think that like Mad would do an anti-Muslim cartoon, would they, Ed? No.
The thing about Mad, what makes Mad unique and very American generally, is that Mad, all they do is they punch up. Who's ever in charge, they will make fun of that person. They did plenty of Obama jokes.
Okay, so they punch up. They only get the top people. They don't attack groups of people. It would be like the president maybe, but not the people. That's an interesting.
The problem is our current president, I'm not sure if you've heard, had the best sense of humor. So he and his people they're doing a big crackdown against media, and there hasn't been a lot of I've heard about him actually cracking down on cartoons, but politically leaning newspapers are doing the job for him.
Yeah. Do you think he was a Mad reader, Ed? I don't think so. Do you think Trump read Mad Magazine when he was younger?
Absolutely not. I live in his hometown, and
oh yeah, because he was from Queens. That's where you live.
And it tells you a lot about politics when and again, not to talk politics. I never talk politics really, but when's the last time someone in charge, like a president, when their hometown rejected him? That doesn't happen, you know. Wherever Dwight D. Eisenhower came from, I guarantee you, his middle school had him in as a guest at some point. That doesn't happen now. I don't know. I think that's something that the people in the country don't really think about. I'm here. I wasn't living here in the 80s, but I know people who were, and they knew what was going on. They knew buildings he owned, all of the discrimination that went on. Just ugly.
Oh yeah, he was a bad guy, wasn't he, Ed? Yeah. Just like, bad guy. So even before, it's not like it was just news, like when he became president, he became bad. He was a bad guy before, man.
He was a bad guy early on.
He was a bad guy.
Again, not to talk politics, because I'm not a political cartoonist. I have had to draw him a few times.
If you like, we can talk about our politicians. I'm not sure it's better.
I know a bit about Italian politics, you know, yeah. I'm glad you can understand.
Good, Uncle Eddie's here. Hi.
Oh,
Ava says hi.
Hi.
Ciao, Eva.
He says hi. I got my headphones on, she can hear, but she acknowledges you. Okay. Oh, this is fun. Are you guys guessing who he's drawing? Who's he drawing now? Who do you think it is, Chiara M?
Yeah, I would like to ask you something about the color. How
Yes.
do you color with your tablet?
Oh, man.
If you can talk with the tablet.
I'll show you exactly how I'll do that, but I need to change my view on this screen. So give me 1 second.
Oh, of course.
I'm using Zoom and another piece of software. I'm going to try to do.
And I have another question before.
Yep.
Do you draw like with level, like Photoshop?
Layers.
Yep.
Right? Do you want to say layers? One on top of another?
You draw, yeah. In Italian is livelli.
Yeah.
I think is this.
Yeah, in English we call them layers.
Layers, okay.
I do.
Like an onion.
Yeah, exactly.
I'll show you that here. I think I can add it while I'm drawing. Okay, this is going to be a little bit, hang on, bear with me here. Okay, now hang on, don't go anywhere.
We're still here.
I ask you in general because when I try to draw something on my tablet, I have to complete the contorni. Sorry for my
outline. The outline.
Otherwise, I'm not able to complete the inside. So
because of, you mean the color? You mean?
Yeah, the color exactly.
So you have to have a complete outside shape before you can start coloring it? It has to be like a completed outline?
He made some white space. So if I want to complete the color inside, I have to create before a perfect form.
Huh.
Otherwise, it's not possible to color.
Right. There's nothing wrong with that at all. I'm trying to arrange my screen here so you can see. Are you looking at my Photoshop screen?
Yeah, we see your Photoshop screen, yeah.
Okay, but I'm trying to make it so you see the whole thing. So hang on. I'm going to try to edit this. I didn't set this part up. Oh, I see. Okay, so hang on. I'm adjusting it. I'm adding this on the fly, so I didn't even know you could do this. So just give me a quick second while I edit and manipulate this thing. I'm showing you what's on my screen that I'm drawing on. And right now, okay, I'm going to get rid of that. Okay. All right. Hey, that works out pretty good. Okay. So you see this palette over here on the right?
Yes.
Here's how I generally set things up. I have a blue layer. I'll take these other ones off. I have a blue layer, and that's at like 10% or so. Then I have a secondary, and these are my sketch layers. And then I have a color layer, and then I have what I call inks. And the reason I call it that is because that's just an old school term for drawing. So yeah, I do sketches. I turn this on, and I'll grab a pen and I'll draw, but it'll be very light. Hang on a second, I'm trying to get rid of this. Okay, so I can do my rough outline of something here, just so I can see the whole thing. And then I'll turn on this inks, or I'll turn on a new layer, and I'll grab and I'll draw over that. So I can use that sketch layer
Okay.
as a guide.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense? I don't really know what the question was other than do I use layers?
She said she's trying to color things in, Ed, and it won't let her do it unless she has completed like the circle.
Oh, that's not true at all. You're doing it wrong. Are you using Photoshop?
Me?
Yeah.
Not in reality. For a little period of time, and I watched some video.
Okay.
What program are you using that's making it difficult for you to color without completing?
Now I'm using Adobe Draw.
Okay.
It's on the iPad.
Okay.
That is
Adobe Draw. First of all, Adobe Draw is not a very good program, but I do believe it does use layers. If you want a good drawing program for the iPad, get one called Procreate. I know it's got a horrible name.
Okay.
But Procreate is very much like Photoshop, where you can have layers. What you're not doing, what you're trying to do is actually color inside that layer. So if you have a piece of, hang on a second, I'll get a piece of paper. See, here's a layer. It's paper.
Okay.
And you have a drawing of a circle on it. You're adding your color into that circle on this same layer. What I'm doing is I'll have my circle on the very top layer, but my coloring will go on the layer behind it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so what that means is you can't use the paint bucket to drop the paint in. You actually have to color. You know, there's ways around that. There's ways to actually select the inside of that circle and then expand it a little bit so you don't get that kind of halo around the color. Does that make sense? I think I know what you're trying to do.
If I understood your question correctly, Chiara, because I'm not an expert, tell me, is he going in the right direction for you?
It's true. It's true.
Okay. I'm gonna draw a circle here, a really lousy one. Again, my okay.
Yeah, and behind you put the color.
What you're doing now, I'm grabbing red and I'm grabbing a paint bucket, and you're just doing that, right?
Mm-hmm.
You just grab the paint bucket and you just kind of dump it in.
Yes.
Is that what you normally do? Okay.
In the reality, I do it. Yes.
Okay. What you don't want to do that because you get this white halo. What you want to do is go to a layer that's behind that.
Mm-hmm.
Grab a paintbrush and color in. Now, the reason that I didn't have my brush opacity at 100% so you can see through it. So I'm going to redo this. Hang on a second. So I'm just going to draw a circle like that. What you're talking about is if you have a circle that's not completed and you go to dump color in, it goes beyond, right?
Yeah, that's true.
But if you were to finish off that circle, then you can just do that, right?
Yes, exactly.
Okay. Yeah, that's not a good way to color because it's just not. What you want to do is go to a layer behind that and color in.
Hey, Ed, is it true that you're colorblind?
No.
Do you know what that means when you're colorblind, you guys? What colors do you not see very well?
I don't think that's a thing anymore. I think I got over that. I'm not sure.
You think you got over it?
Yeah.
When we were younger, Ed was colorblind. He couldn't tell the difference between what, blue and something else. I don't know.
I don't know. I think that was a puberty thing.
Oh, really? You got over it?
Got over it.
Good.
Yeah. So that's kind of probably too much information for that question. But Adobe Draw, I've tried it. Adobe makes great products, but that program, that's more for sketching, more for just doodling. Adobe has Photoshop for the iPad now. It's not perfect, but that's where you can have multiple layers and you can build color up that way. That's what I'd recommend.
Yeah, because for a period I used also on my computer Adobe Illustrator. It's not like Photoshop.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's in between.
Yeah. It's a personal preference thing, but if you're trying to do final paintings, I would recommend something that can have proper layers and color behind your drawing. So if your drawing is on this layer, have your color start here.
Yes, yes.
And you can have, you know, more color layers behind that. But the color layer that's above is gonna cover up what you've drawn.
Yes.
So where's my where's my
Does
Zoom?
that answer your question,
May I
Chiara?
just question?
Thank you.
Yes, Marino, go.
Yes, two questions. Just one technical question about which kind of technique color you use on paper.
Watercolor.
Watercolor, yes, you on paper. What kind of
Kind of paper?
Watercolor, oil.
Nope, I use
Carioca. You know Carioca?
I don't know what Carioca is.
Carioca
What's
is
that?
the pencil for kids.
Pen.
Pen for kids.
Oh, it's a kid stuff, like figure
Yeah.
paints or something.
Oh yeah.
Oh, Ed.
The color
Ed,
for kids.
I'll get it. Hang on.
Ed.
What?
Ava said to show you this, her new notebook.
Bucks?
Bucks notebook. Milwaukee Bucks.
Ooh.
Milwaukee Bucks, yeah, NBA.
Nice.
That's our team.
I'll get the paper. Hang on a second.
Yeah.
Okay.
I have, Caroline, I still
Yeah.
have your first books that you gave me, remember?
No, what were they?
was-
Tell me.
Was the name, I don't remember, that was the history of the horses in American.
Really?
Uh,
Send me a picture on, wait, you have to take a
Yeah,
picture and send it to me when you
yeah,
find
tomorrow, yeah.
it. Okay, I gotta see it.
Here's the paper I buy.
That's the paper you buy to draw on.
Called Strathmore. I could talk about paper forever. Strathmore.
I know, yeah. They don't really,
500.
you would love Smolers. The old Smolers would have been your haven here, Ed. Great art store.
These are about $10 a sheet.
Yeah, but it's archival though, right?
Yeah.
I mean, sometimes it's worth it to pay a little more, right?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, by the way, class, next Wednesday, I am thinking about having, I thought I would take a break and not have a guest so we can break up into two groups, like the morning group and the afternoon group, so that we can kind of figure out where we are and then have a guest the week after. Is that okay for you?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. And you're always welcome to come back. So, because we've had a guest like every week, and I realized that maybe we need to take some time to kind of process what we're learning and talk about it a little bit. So next week, we'll break up into two groups, 10 to 12, and then 6 to 8 p.m. Just do me a favor and tell me on the WhatsApp which group you want to attend, because I don't care which one, but I just want to know that I have a couple people in the morning, a couple people in the afternoon. Okay?
Okay.
That's just an interruption here. All right, we got 10 minutes. We've got, okay. Gianluca, by the way, Gianluca, tell Ed about your friend, because I think, I don't remember if I sent him the drawings, but
yes.
Gianluca has a friend, he wants you to look at his drawings. But Gianluca, explain something about your friend.
Yeah.
I can't hear you though. You turn on your microphone. I'll unmute it. No, you have to turn on your microphone, Gianluca, because I can't hear you.
It's okay. Can you hear me?
There you go.
Yes. Tell Ed
Okay.
about your friend who's an artist.
Yeah, he's a friend of mine. He was born in Venice and studying art history and cinema history. Is teaching in at school art history, it's cinema history. But he's a very good draftman. I think is good.
That's what.
And I tried to invite him today for this meeting, but he was very busy.
Oh, it's too bad.
He liked to give you a couple of works he did in this period. I send them to Caroline.
Yeah. Ed, I'll send them to you so you can see them. Maybe you can give some feedback.
Oh,
okay.
Great. Those are the ones.
So it's a good way. It's a good way to connect to very good painters, I think.
Yeah, I liked his drawings, so that's cool.
Okay.
Thanks.
Yeah, they're great.
Okay, thank you.
He's a professional, right? That's not just a student.
Right, he's an art teacher, but yeah, I think so. You'll see the quality's really good.
Yeah, yeah. He used to work also drawing for theater. I mean, for lyric theater.
For opera. Nice.
Opera, yeah. And he did a very beautiful book about opera of Verdi, Traviata.
Oh, nice.
Very nice. The characters he painted very, very good.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Can someone do me a favor? My phone disappeared. I think it went downstairs with a 9-year-old. Can someone take a screen or picture of the screen for me? Oh no, she's bringing it back now. I gotta take a picture of this. This is so cool. These drawings are amazing.
That's my Suzanne, give me a smile.
Thank you for your caricature.
It doesn't like when I'm it doesn't always work all that great when I have too many things running.
You know, this is like the second. Susie's getting all the attention this week. She also got into a video of this. We love this pie maker lady who lives in the old American Gothic house, you know, and she makes pies and wrote a couple, you know, books. And so we've been sending her pictures of our pies, and nobody ever gets published. But good old Suzanne this week got her pie published on their website and a caricature. So I would say this is your week, my friend.
Yeah.
Your week.
This is a dream come true because because when I went to Paris, I wanted someone to make my caricature, but I didn't have any time. So to stop and ask to draw my caricature, and now it's fantastic.
There you go.
May we have?
Second, hang on. I'm fixing my. There we go. So that's that.
I put it on our WhatsApp group. Ed, that's awesome. This is super fun.
Yeah.
What do you guys think? You like it? Rigo, what's your reaction?
At the moment, very nice. Wonderful, wonderful caricature. I would like to have seen yours, but
he wants to see a caricature that you made of yourself. You've got a million of those.
But
I think
don't worry.
That there is also, it is also in the lesson that Caroline sent.
Yeah,
out.
I don't know if you did that.
Have you done it?
Sure.
Okay. Okay.
Oh, if you go to edsteckley.com, look, he put his branding there so you can check.
Okay.
But I think the caricature that I put in the lesson, I think that you did it, but maybe not. Is it yours?
Which one was it?
You've got a coffee cup in your hand.
Oh God, that's from 2003, I think.
Did you make it?
Yeah.
Okay, so the one in your lesson he made, but I'm sure he's got a newer one.
You can show the Caroline one.
The Caroline one.
Yeah.
He doesn't draw me, man. He doesn't draw me, right?
Oh, really?
Remember how he said there's some people you just can't draw? That's me. You just draw yourself and put glasses on, right, Ed? That's what my grandma said. When I used to have really long hair, and when I cut my hair off, and I told my grandmother, I said, oh, Grandma, I cut my hair off. And she said, oh no, oh gosh, how could you do that? How could you do that? I went to her house. She's like, oh, you look like your brother. Fine. So it worked out, right? We dress the same still, I see. We wear the same clothes, listen to the same music. Huh?
I had more cat hair on my shirts.
I've got dog hair on I also have cat hair on mine. Yeah.
I have a cat.
Anyway. Yeah, I don't know where my cat is right now.
This is fun. 2 hours.
Hi. Wait, yeah, that flew, man.
Yeah.
Anyway, anybody else have anything they want to say? Otherwise, we'll say thank you and
thank you very much.
Let you get on with your life.
Thank you, Ed.
My pleasure, everybody. This is fun.
It was super awesome. Thanks, Ed.
Bye.
Say hi to Heather for me. Give her a big kiss. And thank you. Lucrezia, you okay? You still there?
Oh, good. Yeah, I'm here.
Oh, Lucrezia, did you like it?
Where is Lucrezia?
Lucrezia's down there. She's down there.
All right.
All right. Listen, Ed, if people want to contact you, they can also go to your Instagram there. Looks like you can go to your web or your web page, which is pretty easy, edsteckley.com. If you want to get in touch with Ed, just talk to me. Huh?
Yeah, I'm very easy to find.
Exactly. Great.
Okay.
Well, thanks again. Okay, so next week, thanks everybody. Thanks for amazing questions. Those were awesome. Thanks, Ed, for being so kind to hang out with us today. It was awesome. And of course, I'm always looking for a good excuse to hang out with my twin brother because we're like two peas in a pod. We're like peanut butter and jelly.
Can you blame her?
We're like, huh?
Can you blame her?
I know, hey? But for the rest of you, we'll see you next week, either in the morning or in the afternoon. Just tell me which one. Looks like Furio wants the morning. So if you want to hang out with Furio, you have to go in the morning. But there are other people who work during the day, like Chiara and Enrico, so I'll probably see you in the afternoon. So have a great week.
Thank you.
And
You too.
I want to see your drawings though next week. I want to see your drawings. I want to see all those
Drawings.
terrible, terrible drawings, okay?
Okay.
Okay.
Big kisses for everybody.
Bye,
Bye.
thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you very much.
Bye. 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 So Ed, you can probably unrecord at this point, right?
Gotta figure out how to do that.
Yeah, me too.
Stop share.
Okay.
There we go.
So we have to figure out how to unrecord it.
Yeah.
So that we can, well, once we figure out how this works, I'll try to put it either on Facebook or share it with you guys in some way, okay?
Okay.
Frederica, I want to see your drawings, your fashion drawings. Gianluca, I want to see a face this week.